actually sided with them to say that they do not need to release this information. So that's all the judgment was. So now, of course, created some headlines, some sensational headlines perhaps, but in reality, there's really nothing much to it. You know, these employees volunteered to be promoted in 2012, were effectively promoted, and went from being covered by one union to being covered by another union with additional benefits. So there's really nothing much there.
Other questions, perhaps about the transformation?
Hi, I'm Yimi from Nikkei Markets. Yeah, I have a question on, do you have any target for return on equity for FY 2020? And second question is related to earlier report on Alliance Bank may be looking to pare down its stake in Alliance Investment Bank.
Well, everybody likes the dual question thing. So the first one, return on equity. Obviously, if I cannot give you an estimate on profit, it would be difficult for me to give you an estimate of return on equity. As pertains the investment bank, very clearly, we continue to want to optimize the returns for the group. And you know evidently that our focus is on SME and consumers, where we're making very good progress in digitizing services and improving the services that we give our customers. We recognize that investment banking is not an easy business to be in these days, both because the stock market is a bit subdued, and because opportunities in capital markets are somewhat limited. But having said that, our investment bank continues to perform reasonably well, and beyond that, we obviously do not comment on M&A activity.
Follow-up question on the investment bank. It was understood that one officer from CIMB Investment, Ms. Grant, have been joined Alliance Bank. Is there any reshuffle on the investment bank itself, so that to strengthen the investment business?
So I didn't quite catch your question. Is there echo?
See, it was understood that the CIMB Bank investment senior officer will join Alliance Bank recently. So is there any reshuffle on the investment bank position or portfolio? Thank you.
Is there any
Reshuffle.
or reshuffle? No, there's no significant reshuffle. Obviously, we continue to look for talent, in the market. So if we get good people, we're very happy. As I said, the investment bank, if we exclude the exceptional impairment of goodwill last year, actually had improving results despite pressures in the stock market and brokerage business. So we keep going.
What are your thoughts on virtual banking?
I'm sorry?
What are your thoughts on virtual banks?
That's a very good question. Well, clearly for a bank, for the bank itself, there isn't very much of a benefit of a virtual bank license, because we can already provide access electronically to the bank, whether it's through mobile or online and so on. So there's no limitation for us to provide these services. So for us as an entity, there's no really added value. However, if we were to enter into partnership with another non-bank company, it is possible that might become useful through another vehicle, but that's not something that's yet on the cards.
But are you talking to anyone?
We are definitely talking to potential partners, yes. But that doesn't mean that we're applying for a virtual bank license. I can't tell you that yet. But we definitely are talking to partners in order to open up our distribution, and we are looking for ecosystem partnerships without a doubt.
Generally for the banking industry, do you see if virtual banks are given a license in Malaysia, how will that affect the industry?
Well, evidently, if other players are given virtual bank license, by the way, I don't think they will just be handed those licenses. They will have to, you see, conform to a number of conditions, you know, risk management conditions, prudential conditions, and so on. That obviously will increase the number of competitors. Now, to scale up from nothing, my view is that's not a trivial proposition. It is quite a costly affair. And so I think that you will see many very different models. It may not be just people coming in, scaling up from nothing on their own. I think it's most likely we'll see combinations of partnerships, you know, with already access to consumers in order to be able to scale up effectively. But it's a bit early to, you know, predict everything. But I think that's more what's likely to happen.
So it wouldn't be a threat to traditional banks?
Well, of course. I mean, competition is intensifying. Competition is intensifying all the time, and not just with non-banking entrants, but also between the banks. Or you know, I think you'll remember 2 years ago, everybody was wondering what would happen with the fact that, you know, Alibaba, Tencent, all these very successful players were entering the Malaysian markets, and there was a lot of fear around that. Not everything that was feared has materialized yet. But clearly, we know from our market and from other markets that, you know, the first areas where competition intensifies are payment services, and that the folks who are entering payment services are always also interested in, over time, providing lending services, right? And I think all of this will play out in the course of the next few years, and we have to just be better at providing service, convenience, and at convincing consumers that we are the place where they need to be. At the end of the day, you know, it's a free world, so and consumers have the right to choose. So I think the only thing that we can do is to make sure that we are the best choice, and then that's it. Competition will always be there and will continue to intensify.
Is there a last question?
Hi, Eileen from The Edge. I was just wondering, given that you said also you're also also in line with people saying that the economy has been slowing down and there's headwinds ahead. How has your NPL been, and maybe what's your provision cycle, if you could say? And also, second question, I was wondering, you know, the Bank Negara and the Finance Ministry has been asking to maybe relax your lending policy, asking banks to relax lending policy. What's your comments or views on this matter?
Well, you know, okay. So in terms of provisioning, obviously the numbers for FY19 are available, as you know. They're quite reasonable in relation to FY18. On the normalized basis, they're very marginally up. I can't comment on exact numbers for quarters to come because obviously that's not something that I'm able to do at this stage. But yes, we do see some headwinds, and while we have a very robust early warning system, we see then companies that are having difficulties. Most of these companies will be able to weather them, and some companies may not be. So, could there be increased provisions in the foreseeable horizon? Yes, absolutely, there could be. Now, in terms of whether our regulator or others want us to relax our lending criteria, I'm not sure that's exactly where I would how I would be thinking of it. I think that, as I said, we want to be the most important relationship for the financial success of business owners. It means that we want to help them succeed and expand. So, do we want to facilitate for them to get financing wherever we can, in whichever way that is possible? Absolutely yes. Sometimes it will be us on our own. Sometimes it will be in partnership, for example, with CGC. which we have started to do. And we have to find the smart ways to evaluate and to work with them also, so that companies who are looking for credit know what amount of credit is healthy for them and what amount may not be healthy for them in order to expand. What kind of expansion they could enter into while managing their own risks as well, right? Because it's good to get advice to understand how you can actually manage your business going forward and for it to survive and to thrive. So we're definitely committed to doing that. And that's why we're optimistic about the expansion of our SME business. We think that we can help a lot of people be successful and expand and improve and increase their business. But part of that, I mean, my view is not just loosening. It's helping people do it right so that they can be successful. And that's, we're definitely committed to that.
You mentioned a few times that you're seeing some companies having difficulties. What companies, which segment, what difficulties are these?
Well, I can definitely not tell you which company. But I think we know, obviously we know the construction sector has been under stress. That's not to say that we have a lot of issues in construction sector, let's be clear. But we do see that that's a sector that's experiencing some stress. We see also retail being, retailers being pressured, whether it's turnover or margins. Obviously, as the economy slows down somewhat, that will affect some of them. And by extension, some of the wholesalers or folks who supply those retailers may also see some pressure. So it's, I think it's relatively widespread because a slowdown is a slowdown. Having said that, that slowdown is not so sharp, and historically Malaysia has always been able to bounce back. So I don't think there's any reason why that wouldn't be the case here, and we intend to play our role in helping that happen as much as possible.
Okay, one glance around the room. One more.
Do you have any wish list for upcoming budget?
Well, we're a fairly small bank, and we don't like to give people advice. We think the reverse. We think, how do we help, making things happen, right? And so that's why we try to broaden the avenues of giving the best advice possible, helping people figure out how they can succeed and stay afloat, and seeing all the different mechanisms by which we can provide the credit. If there are regulations or changes that allow us to expand on those services, then of course we will use them to the best effect that we can.
No more? Okay, thank you members of the media and to our spokespersons for your participation at this press conference. If you need more information about the bank, please do not hesitate to contact us, the group communications team. We prepared light lunch for you. Please enjoy yourself. And thank you and have a pleasant afternoon. Okay.